Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the one and only Hosting Cruz, bringing you another exciting edition of boxing. Don't forget to hit and to like, subscribe to my channel. It's always greatly appreciated. Stay tuned. Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Hosting Cruz, and breaking news. Very interesting news. If a picture had out of nowhere written all over it, it's got to be this one, because this is what it is, out of nowhere. A very random fight. Wow, this is surprising. Arthur Beterbiev, the former undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, one of the most dangerous fighters in the history of sport. 21-1, 20 knockouts, coming off his back-to-back epic fights with Dimitri Bivol, and what's expected is a third fight out from the two, right? So that's in the future. But in the meantime, I guess we're gonna get this matchup here between Arthur Beterbiev and undefeated light heavyweight Puerto Rican contender, I guess you can call him contender, Najee Lopez, 14-0, 11 knockouts. Now, Najee Lopez is an on-the-rise talent. You know, he's been showing a lot of potential in the pro box telecast. You know, most of his fights have been there. I think all of them, if I'm not mistaken. And he's shown a very promising future so far. You know, he's got a good height on him, he got a good reach, he can box, he can pop, and he can take a good shot, because we've seen it in his fights. We've seen it in his fights where he gets hit, clocked on the chin, and takes it and gives it back. Of course, it's not against elite punchers like a Beterbiev or a Dimitri Bivol or Canelo Alvarez, but he showed that he can take a shot. He's undefeated, 14-0 and 11 knockouts. So 14 times he was able to get the job done. But against, of course, if you look at his resume, there's not one familiar name on there. And with all due respect to Najee Lopez, I'm Puerto Rican. You know, I back all my Puerto Rican fighters up. You know, if this fight was to get made, of course, I gotta say, I got Najee Lopez. But I gotta be real on this. Now, I don't know who idea is this, promotion-wise, promoter-wise, management-wise, but this is not a good choice for Najee Lopez. Now, maybe Najee Lopez sees this as an opportunity of a lifetime. And I understand that, you know, because, you know, and it has to be an honor, right? Stepping in there with an undisputed former light heavyweight champion of the world and one of the top light heavyweights for some time in Arthur Beterbiev. But at the end of the day, he's got to step in there and fight a human wrecking ball in Arthur Beterbiev, who's been through a lot in his career, former undisputed champion, who's fought a who's who in his weight class, who's been a top fighter for some time. And here comes Najee Lopez, who hasn't fought anyone or beat anyone. Even though he's shown a promising future, boxing skills, power, chin, he's still a work in progress. And like I said, he being Puerto Rican and I'm Puerto Rican, I'm going to back him 100%. But at the same time, this is not a smart idea, man. Because, like I said, Najee Lopez, as good as he is, he's still a work in progress. And to put him in there, straight into the fire, straight into the lion's den, against an Arthur Beterbiev, is like a huge mismatch. Prove me wrong, because unless Najee Lopez can prove me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, and he's gonna have to prove me wrong big time in this fight if it gets made. Right now, it's in negotiations for Riyadh season card, ring 4, on November 22nd on the David Benavidez versus Anthony Yard fight. They're trying to put this fight on there, and Najee Lopez is the least one of the least names that I expect to be matched up against Arthur Beterbiev, because Arthur Beterbiev right now he's just as elite as it gets at 175. Who is supposed to be fighting? Who should be fighting Dimitri in the third fight? Arthur doesn't need a fight like this, but based on what I've read, it's in negotiations. You know, last I heard about the Bivol Beterbiev third fight is that it got postponed for next year because they want to hold it in Russia in the stadium. And I get it, 2 Russian tanks in a stadium in Russia going for it for the undisputed crown. Sounds good, sounds great, sounds epic, whatever you want to call it. It's great stuff. But this fight, this is a dangerous fight for Najee Lopez. Najee's young, he's 25 years old, he has a promising future, undefeated, can box, can punch, can take a shot, but I still feel he's a work in progress. And I know a lot of you guys can agree with me on this. He has not fought anyone, he has not beaten anyone, he is a work in progress still. And they're going to match him up with Arthur Beterbiev? Najee Lopez, there's a potential here. There's a chance he can get really hurt in this fight, because Beterbiev is one of the most dangerous fighters in the history of sport today. When you talk Arthur Beterbiev, you gotta talk Subriel Matias type of shit, because they fight similar. A lot of pressure, a lot of punches, and when Arthur Beterbiev goes to work on you, he's hitting you everywhere, just like Subriel Matias, everywhere, beating you up, pummeling you. And as good as Najee Lopez is, you know, the potential he's been showing, he has not faced anyone near like an Arthur Beterbiev. Like I said, he's not faced anyone elite. Not one big name, not one familiar name in his career. And he's going to be fighting when and if he does step in there with Beterbiev, he's going to realize the pressure when Beterbiev closes the gap, when Arthur Beterbiev starts to let his offense go. It's a different thing. Now, I'm sure Najee Lopez is going to have his moments for a minute in this fight, especially earlier on, because like I said, he can box, he can punch, he's gonna land something. But, and maybe they're looking at Beterbiev, maybe they're looking at this fight, you know, Najee's team, they're looking at this fight like, okay, it's Arthur Beterbiev, but he's 40 years old, he's coming off a loss. But it's not just he's coming off a loss. He's not just coming off a loss. He's coming off a competitive, highly skilled loss to Dimitri Bivol after coming off a victory over Dimitri Bivol. These two guys are split, and they're working on the third fight. So, and even though Arthur is 40, he's not a beat down, faded, shot worn 40. He's still a dangerous man. So, to see Arthur Beterbiev being matched up against Najee Lopez, this is a huge shocker, because Najee Lopez is, seeing his name next to Arthur Beterbiev for a potential fight is one of the least things I've thought about or saw coming. But based on what I've read, is in negotiations for November 22nd, ring 4, Riyadh season, David Benavidez versus Anthony Yard, Arthur Beterbiev versus Najee Lopez. And I'm Puerto Rican, like I said, I back my Puerto Rican fighters, but I won't be surprised if Arthur Beterbiev gets Najee Lopez out of there. You know, if Najee Lopez was to go in there and actually pull this off, it will be the upset of the year in my book. In my book. Because Najee Lopez is not ready for this fight. Or a fight like this. You know, he's gonna go in there. He doesn't know how to lose. He's gonna let his hands go. He's gonna land his shots. He will land something. But I just can't see anything else more than that. More than trying. I just can't see Najee Lopez doing anything else more than trying, landing his shots, and trying and trying. But I just can't see him getting his hands raised or even making it to the decision. I don't know how he's gonna. I don't know how Najee Lopez can get past this or survive this. I just can't see it. Like I said, if Najee Lopez defeats Archer Beterbiev, it's the upset of the year. Canelo and Crawford are going to be fighting in September, in a month from now. And whoever wins that fight is not going to be called an upset because two elite fighters at 168. Yeah, Crawford is first fight at 168, but he's an elite fighter. You can call it an upset if you want, if Crawford was to go in and defeat Canelo Alvarez. But Najee Lopez defeating Arthur Beterbiev, in my book, would be the biggest upset in the history. Well, one of the biggest, of course, in history, but the biggest in 2025, in my book. So, yeah, just want to come on here and talk to you about this insane matchup in terms of competitiveness here on paper. I mean, on paper, it all looks good. You know, Arthur Beterbiev with his 21-1 record, 20 knockouts, and he got 14-0. Najee Lopez, big 25-year-old, who's been promising if you've been watching his career over at Pro Box TV. Oh man, Najee Lopez takes it as an opportunity. Of course, the payday must be nice. The opportunity of a lifetime to go in there with a future legend, future Hall of Famer. But man, this is a dangerous fight, man. Najee Lopez is risking his health here in this fight because Beterbiev doesn't play, and he's a human wrecking ball. And Najee Lopez is more than likely going to find that out. It's not official, guys, but it's in negotiations, and it's surprise. Yes, this has surprised me that this fight is in negotiation, but it is what it is. Let's see what happens as time goes on and more news of this unfolds. Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Austin Cruz. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It is always a pleasure to talk to you guys about boxing. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.